Hey, my name's Jonathan. This video is about how to fix your lawn care company, how to fix your business, and it's not in response to any one specific question, rather it's a response to an observation. So in my local market, we're very fortunate that my company has grown into a larger company in that market, and so we're presented with the opportunity frequently to acquire other businesses. And if you're in my local market and you want out of the business, please talk to us. We're very interested in talking to you. The problem is, with most of the companies we look at, even if they're in the exact area that we serve, a lot of times we can't acquire them because we can't fix them without losing most of the clients. So this video is somewhat inspired by that scenario that we keep seeing play over and over again. It's also a response to a variant of different questions that I get through Lawn Care Millionaire, and then through Service Autopilot, working with a number of our clients, answering questions, talking to them on the phone, hearing different problems, and trying to help some of our clients solve problems. All of the combination of everything I just mentioned is what has prompted me to record this video. And so this video isn't so much about identifying in your business exactly what you do, step by step, how to fix it. The only way we could possibly do that is if you and I got together and we looked at your business and I asked you a bunch of questions, and then we literally laid out a roadmap and said, okay, based on what you're doing now, based on where you want to go, here's what we do, step by step by step. And without meeting in first person and talking about that, there's no way I can tell you step by step what to do. However, based on working with my clients in Service Autopilot, based on questions from Lawn Care Millionaire, and based on these companies that come to us in my local market, I can give you some really sound advice on what should you look at. So this is more of a conceptual video about how you might go about fixing your business, more so than a video about do this, do this, do that. I can't possibly give you that instruction without meeting. So my personal opinion is that the three most important things in your business in order are people, marketing, and your processes, basically your systems. Now, every marketing guru out there that you read, that you listen to, that you pay attention to, they're going to tell you marketing's number one. And I get it, because if you don't have a new flow of clients into your business, then great. Let me restate that. If you don't have a flow of new clients into your business, then basically you're screwed. You can't grow the company, you can't fix problems, you can't finance the company, you have all these problems. So in most respects, I agree, marketing is the most important thing in your business. However, because I love marketing, it's my biggest interest, I look at all these marketing gurus in internet marketing and all types of other marketing, and they're all out there selling their marketing systems and their programs, and yet they can't seem to run their own businesses worth a flip. So basically, they have these businesses and they are really good at pitching it and selling it, and half the products they sell are worthless, yet their businesses suck. There's no other way to put it. Why are they no good? Well, it's because of their people. This is my argument. Yes, I agree, marketing's a big deal, and we're going to talk about this. Marketing's a big deal. However, I could be the greatest marketer in the world, and if I bring clients in over and over and over again, I bring them into my company, and then my people are a disaster. I haven't hired the right people. I haven't trained my team. I don't have the right team. Then the clients are going to come in, and the clients are going to go right back out the door. And they're going to go out the door unhappy. They're going to write bad reviews. They're going to spread the word that my company is worthless. And in the long term, then my company falls apart. So, and it doesn't fall apart from the sense that, well, it does fall apart from the sense that I can't retain any clients, but on top of that, because I eventually get such a bad reputation to market, I market, get all these clients, make so many people unhappy, I get a bad reputation, then my marketing stops working. And I don't know why it stops working, but the reason it stops working is because I can't make anybody happy, and everybody that's been my client hates me because I'm no good. So my point about pointing out the fact that marketing, though most say it's the most important thing, which I understand the argument, in my opinion, is the second most important thing. First, it's your people, because your people dictate how well your operations run, how good your customer service is, how good your quality is, how well you retain clients, how you grow the company, and on and on and on. So I'm just simply making the argument that if you're bringing in the clients because you're a master at marketing and they're moving right out the back door because your people and your quality are not so hot, you got a problem. So as you think about fixing your company, you've got to think about those three things: people, marketing, systems. So let's talk about this. And it somewhat sounds easy. Hire the right people, figure out marketing to drive business, and then have a good system, which is a combination of software and procedures to manage the whole thing. Sort of sounds easy. The problem is then you've got this nasty little thing on the side called pricing, and having accurate, correct, optimal pricing. And if your pricing is screwed up, it messes up all three of those things, because you can't have the best people, you can't do the right marketing, and you absolutely can't have the right systems. So let's talk about the three things, but there's no way we can talk about them without talking about the big overarching theme, which is pricing. And that circles me all the way back to what I talked about in the beginning, which is companies in our market coming to my lawn care company that are interested in selling. Companies that ask questions via Lawn Care Millionaire or Service Autopilot clients. And across the board, we tend to see the exact same scenario over and over and over again. And it's usually one or two or three of the core three things that I've been talking about are not set up correctly in that business, but it's almost always universally about pricing. So my argument is, if you want to fix any company, or if you want to grow any company from whatever number you're at now to 1 million or 5 million or 10 million, you have to master people, marketing, and systems. So let's just get systems off the table first. That's the third one. Systems are not only your technology that runs the company, but it's also the internal procedures and processes. So if you're using some $300 piece of software, $1,000 piece of software to run your whole company, I'm not even going to go into the topic in detail, but I'm simply going to say, I know every single piece of software in the marketplace. There's no chance you're running your company properly if you're using that type of software. It's absolutely impossible. You may not realize it, but it's impossible. The reason being because there's so many invisible opportunity costs and expenses and such. Case in point, you use a low-end piece of software, and for that reason you forget to track things, you forget to build things, you forget to schedule things, you have no internal procedures, and therefore this invisible money that you never collected floats right out the door. So for example, client says, can you please trim my bushes? You forget to schedule it, you forget to write it down, or maybe you wrote it down, stuck it in your pocket, it never gets into your system, never gets done. $300 you could have earned out the door. And that scenario plays out over and over again. Invoices go out late, a million different things happen because your software is inferior, because you're trying to cut costs and save money and use an inexpensive piece of software, and you don't understandably have any idea what that means in regards to how much money you're losing, because the money you're losing is invisible in a sense. But whether you realize it or not, you're losing a ton of money because you're using inferior software, and you're going to hit a brick wall where you can never grow your company to a certain level because, again, you're using inferior software. So I believe that beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm convinced of it, and I know it firsthand. And so let's not talk about that, but think about it. If your software is some low-end software that you got into at a cheap price point, there's a reason you got into it at a cheap price point. This kind of software I'm talking about costs millions and millions of dollars to build, period. If you're using anything less, guarantee you're not using the right system. Software technology system. Now, regarding systems, if you don't have internal Systems. For example, what happens when a client becomes a client? What happens when you send an estimate? How do you follow up? What happens if they don't call you back in 2 days? What happens if you call them once and you get their voicemail? What happens if a client doesn't pay their bill? What happens if an employee gets mad and quits and trashes your equipment? That's an example of systems. What do you do? What does your team? So for example, you go out and you spend $35,000 on an employee and you just say, go out and do the work. Go out and make me money. But they don't know what to do, because imagine the scenario, where did you get them? You just hired them from your local competitor that doesn't have the faintest idea what they're doing either. That employee never had any real training. They don't come to you programmed with exactly what to do and exactly how to make you tons of money and how to do things the fastest way possible. So you inherit because you somehow got because let's face it, at the end of the day, almost everybody that comes to your business came from a competitor. So now you inherit a employee of some value, some amount of money you pay them. And if you're just going to take them, put them in a truck and hope they trim bushes, hope they take care of your client, hope they look your client in the eyes, hope they don't say anything stupid out in the field, hope they don't not close the gate and let the dog out. If you think that you're just going to get them and they're going to magically be great, I don't think so. I can tell you it ain't going to happen. You got to train them. Systems. So systems are the technology used to run the company. There is no big company you could point at that's doing $1 million, $5 million, well maybe $1 million, but $2 million, $5 million, $10 million that's not using a good technology program. There's no $5 million company you can point at that doesn't have procedures in place, training in place, safety meetings in place. They don't exist. You don't get to 5, 10, 20, 30, $100 million, and forget that I said 100 million because very few companies are going to 100 million in this industry, but $5, $10 million, absolutely possible, and larger. But let's just say that's where you hope to go someday. You're not going there without systems. So you got to have your systems right. So most companies don't have those right, and the good ones are working on them. So let's just, you kind of understand the concept of systems, but let's talk about the other two items, marketing and people. So marketing, you could argue again, most important or second most important behind people. I personally love marketing. Personally, it's a debate on which is more important, because obviously if you don't have the right marketing, you can't get enough money to hire the right people, but yet at the same time, if you don't hire the right people, you can't support your marketing efforts, and probably without the right people, you can't even get the marketing out the door. So these are the two items that you want to focus on with this other side item that we're about to talk about, which is pricing. So marketing, it is key to your business. So if I were to fix a business, the first thing I'm going to look at is marketing. Are you driving business into are you driving leads? Are you driving potential clients into your business? If you're not, we've got a serious problem, because from my experience, if you're not getting a fresh set of leads into your business, you have no confidence. Confidence is really important, because confidence leads to hiring the right people, doing more marketing, pricing your services correctly. So for example, if I have this concern that I don't know where my business is coming from tomorrow, when Miss Smith comes to me and says, I need my bushes trimmed, I have no confidence in pricing that job. I need that job. So I'm going to price it however I feel I can win it. And usually that means I'm going to underprice it. However, if I have all these leads coming to me every day, every week, every month, and Miss Smith comes to me and says, I'd like a price on my bushes, I know that, well, I can price it right to make money, but if I don't win it because I priced it low and some lowballer I priced it high to actually make a profit, and some lowballer beats me out, so be it. I didn't want the work because I would have lost money on it. And I'm confident because I have this source of leads coming in on the other side, where Mr. Jones and Mr. Wallace and all these other people are coming in, and I have an opportunity to win their business. Confidence is a big deal. So that's why I start with marketing. When it comes to marketing, we have to when it comes to your business, we have to create a source of potential revenue, a constant source that you can bank on, that you can count on. They're going to keep coming in. That develops confidence. When you have confidence, you can say, Miss Smith, this is the price. This is why we have to charge the price. This is why we're different than every other company you're going to consider. I understand if we're not a fit for you, but this is how we do business, and this is the price. Basically, you can essentially take that attitude. You can set the rules of how you do business. You want to be in the driver's position. You want to be in the driver's seat. And none of that can happen until you get your marketing in line. So I like to start with fixing marketing. Let's get your marketing funnel. So you picture this marketing funnel, kind of like an hourglass. You're pouring leads into the top, and they're coming through the funnel, and some number come out the bottom that you want, that also match with you and want you, and they become your clients. And you want to have enough people coming in that you're dumping in the top of your funnel that the best clients are coming out of the bottom of it, this constant stream of new clients. That's your goal. So the place to start is fixing your marketing. Now, if your marketing is, gee, I hope I'm going to get some business next week, that's not a good marketing strategy. You have to actually do something. It has to be a combination of online marketing, so that would be SEO, pay-per-click, your website, a little bit of social media, and then that's one side, online marketing, and then the second side is print marketing, offline marketing. That is things like door hangers, postcards, lead letters, street mailers, all these printed mailing pieces that you send to a prospective client to gain their business. You really shouldn't just do one or the other. You should do both. That's the ideal. And so if I were working with you to fix your business, we would work on online marketing heavily. You will not win in the future, and you will not win today unless you figure out online marketing. And then we're going to combine that with offline marketing. So I would show you exactly what to do in both of these areas. Now I understand I'm not giving you the exact answer here, but I'm telling you what to look at. So if you write this whole video off and say, well, you didn't tell me what to do, I'm telling you what to look at, and you should look at online marketing and print marketing. You want to be doing both. You want to figure it out. That might mean getting a few books. That might mean asking questions. It basically means you want to learn online marketing, print marketing. So you start there. You need to create a funnel. You can't just hope clients are going to come to you. You've got to be aggressive. When you have a stream of clients coming to you, again, you have confidence. With that confidence, then you can go out and you can start to hire the right people. And instead of paying a foreman $10 an hour, now you can pay a foreman $14 an hour. And the difference is massive. The $10 an hour guy, when you're constantly having to pay a low wage to get a guy you can afford, that's the very guy that says, whoa, I can find $11 an hour job. I can find a $12 an hour job. And he's the same guy that quits. And so your life becomes a scenario of guys coming in and guys leaving, guys coming in and guys leaving. That's a crappy business to run. The business where I have a flow of employees just circling through my business is a horrible business. I don't want to be in that business. I want to be in the business where I can go out and I can get a good guy, maybe the best guy, but maybe a good guy with potential, and train him and make him a great guy. And I can pay him a wage where he likes me. Together, we can work together, he can take care of his family, he can be happy, and he has no reason to 20% of the time be looking for another job. He can come and have his basic needs met and work with me and be happy. And he can even tell his friends that these guys are cool, these guys are good, and he can get his friends to come work with me. So the strategy is, I need to be able to pay enough money in my marketplace to get the right guys and be able to keep the guys where they're taken care of and they don't feel the need to constantly be going to look for more work, different employer. I want to take care of them. You can't take care of them if you don't fix marketing and this little topic we're about to talk about called pricing. You have to be able to take care of your guys. Otherwise, you might as well get out of business, because it's pure misery, because you can't keep anybody. It's just a constant flow of guys in and out of your business. So, marketing and paying the right wage. You can't pay the right wage, and you can't even have the confidence to pay the right wage, much less hire the right people, if you don't fix the marketing. So we start with marketing. Then we work on our wage. We work on the ability to hire. And we go out and we find the right people, and we figure out what the wages in our market we have to pay to actually keep people. And then when we get people and they're the wrong people, we get rid of them fast. We don't put up with ridiculous, poor performing employees. And I realize that's hard. Employees are the biggest struggle in my business. We have incredible employees. I mean, our team is awesome, but to find that team and to have put that team together has been very hard. And it's very hard to find more people to put on our team. So I'm not minimizing the challenge that exists in terms of building a great team. It is an absolute challenge. Marketing's easy in my mind. The employees, that's the hard part. So to this point of employees, when you find one and they don't work out, you let them leave the company, you help them leave the company, and you make sure you bring the right people in, because the wrong people are going to make your life miserable. The wrong people are going to prevent you from ever growing the company. So you've got to get a handle on employees. So we're going to look at your marketing first, then we're going to look at your people. And the people means the people in your office, it means your business partners, it means your foreman doing the work, it means your lead men, it means your laborers, it means everybody. And if you have an underperformer that's dragging you down, they need to leave, and you need to bring somebody in to replace them, and you need to make sure you have the revenue stream to do it. Again, I keep saying it, but I want to make sure it's clear. That revenue stream is created from marketing. So let's circle all the way back to my original point. I keep seeing this trend in business, and so if we look at, if I talk to a potential, or if I talk to a client, I talk to a service autopilot client, or I talk to a lawn care millionaire person, or somebody that looks at the videos and asks questions, or I talk to anybody in the industry. And interestingly enough, because I'm fortunate to get to work in a lot of industries, if I talk to others in completely unrelated industries to lawn care, universally I always see the same problem. And like I said, marketing may be a problem at one company, people may be a problem in another, systems may be a problem at a third, and it varies. That all varies. The universal problem across all companies that are underperforming, that I would not want to buy, or that if I bought them, I would buy them for a lesser amount, is pricing. This is the common denominator across all problems I see. So this is what I want to spend a little bit more time on before we wrap this up. So if you're out there and you've figured out how to market your business, so one of the three things that you've got to master, you figured out how to market your business, and you're bringing in a lot of new leads, you're closing those leads, but you're closing them at a rate that is not profitable to your company, or maybe it's profitable, but it's profitable at a low margin, meaning it brings in some profit, but it's a small amount of profit. Basically what you've created is a poor performing business, or potentially a business that loses money. And the reason that would be is because oftentimes when you bring in work, and this is true for all of us, nobody can say otherwise to what I'm about to say. If we bring in work at a low margin, not a one of us doesn't screw it up at times. So for example, we go out, we price work, and we think we're going to bring in this margin, and in reality, if this is your baseline, we bring in work down here that nets us a negative margin. We lose money. Every one of us does it. Everybody in the industry. I don't care who you are. It happens. So when your margin's this low, and sometimes you bring in work that's underperforming, and you lose money on that work, it drives down your top line margin even further. It just drives it down. So your average margin comes down. And when your margin's pretty thin, every time you lose a job, it has a major adverse effect on your business. When you have a thick margin, when you have a big margin on your business, and you lose a little margin, a little money on a few jobs here and there, it has a much smaller impact on your business. Pricing is, at the end of the day, one of the most important factors in your business. It dictates everything. It dictates how much you can spend on marketing. It dictates the quality of marketing you can do. It dictates how much marketing you can do. It dictates when the business comes in because of marketing, how much profit is left over to reinvest back into the business to do, again, more marketing, to hire the right people, to hire an operations manager. So The trend I see is most companies have figured out how to price a couple services correctly. So again, most companies don't go out and do anything more than eyeball the work and say, this is what it should be priced at, that's what it should be priced at. And generally, from my findings, most companies are pretty good at pricing a couple services. And if most companies offer, let's say, 5 services, maybe only 4, and they're good at pricing 2 or 3, that 3rd or 4th or 5th service that they price that is generally wrong or 40% of the time underpriced is the thing that's destroying their business. Case in point, when we look at companies, universally across the board, bush trimming is underpriced. Bush trimming is destroying their business. If you're in a southern market and you trim more frequently, it's a bad situation. If you're in a northern market and you're only trimming 2 times a year, maybe 3 times a year, doesn't hurt you quite as bad, but it still hurts you. Money's flowing out the back door because you're underpricing the bush trimming service. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm coming to this conclusion that bush trimming is a service that most of the industry just doesn't price correctly. Whether it's because they don't know how to price it, it's because they think of it as a lesser service that's kind of thrown in to win mowing and win maintenance and win the account, and they kind of roll it into the whole scenario. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. I see it constantly. And most of the companies we evaluate, they're losing money. So, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of low ballers in lawn mowing, in the basic service of lawn mowing. And there's low ballers in everything. But in my argument, if you haven't heard it, is that we were all low ballers at one time. Nobody in the industry is out there saying, I'm going to be the low baller and I'm going to win all the business. That's generally not the case. It's generally a lack of knowledge. You may be the low baller in your market for bush trimming because you don't know how to price bush trimming. Back to my point, I see bush trimming constantly underpriced. And this is where this pricing conversation is a big deal. You could have nailed your pricing on mowing, and maybe you mow 30 times a year in your market, and then you throw in 3 bush trimmings, and each of those 3 bush trimmings essentially lose you money. The money you're losing there sucks the profits out of your mowing, or sucks the profits out of your fertilization and weed control. And an awful lot of companies sub out fertilization and weed control to a third party, so there's already not that much profit in fertilization and weed control for those that sub it out to another company. And I'm not saying that's a bad strategy, I'm just saying that typically what you're left with is, on a typical maintenance company, mowing, fertilization, weed control, bush trimming, managing the flower beds and such, you're pulling your profit out of mowing because you've underpriced your bush trimming. Now, this is a broad generalization. It's not necessarily correct in your business or correct in your local competitor's business. It's something I've observed, and I believe it to be the case. I believe these sub-services that are performed less often, bush trimming, cleaning up flower beds, they're the services that tend to be underpriced, whereas your core services, mowing, fertilization, weed control, they tend to be priced a little bit more accurately. There's more on the line. It's pretty easy to figure out you're about to go out of business because you've underpriced all your mowing, but it's harder to identify that your mowing's priced correctly and your sub-services, bush trimming, are underpriced. So, possibly a little bit long-winded of an example, but you really, if I'm looking at fixing a business, I'm looking at marketing, I'm looking at people, but I'm looking at pricing. I'm looking at pricing immediately. I'm looking at what are you focused on, how many things are you offering, are we offering too many things, are we getting out of our area of expertise, and then I'm looking at pricing. Because pricing is where most companies destroy themselves. They price something right, they price something else incorrect. The thing they're pricing incorrect is sucking all the profits or a percentage of the profits out of the thing they're pricing incorrectly or correctly. And if they literally quit doing the thing they were underpricing, suddenly the net profit of their company would go way up. And because they, number one, got more focused, and number two, because they just eliminated the thing they weren't even making any money on, and it left them with just the thing that they were doing correctly, that they were pricing correctly. So if you're looking at fixing your business, here's where you start. Start with your pricing. So that wasn't one of the 3 things I initially mentioned, but I wanted to get to this point. Look at your pricing. First of all, break down each service you're offering: mowing, fertilization and weed control, your aerations, your installing sods, you're installing flowers, you're installing mulch, all the different sub-services you're offering. So I'm more focused on maintenance right now than I am on landscape. But look at these services. And now within each service, look at, for each job, when do you get there, when do you leave? What's your material cost? How long are you spending on the job? Now, to get to that job, how long did you load the truck? Then, how long did you drive to get to the job? So for example, if you do a flower installation and you average let's just say you average one flower install per day, and then you also trim some bushes, and you also do some other enhancement items. But for that flower job, you had to go to the vendor and you had to pick up the flowers, you had to load them on the truck, then you had to drive to the client's property, or maybe you had to drive them around all day and you had to constantly move the flowers around and reposition them to get other things out of the trailer. And then eventually you got to the client's property and you had these flowers and you unloaded them. There's time there. There was time getting them at the vendor, time driving to the vendor, time driving back from the vendor, time loading them, time unloading them, time planting them, time prepping them, time talking to the client about the flowers, time calling the client after the fact and saying you need to water your flowers, time after the fact when the client calls you and says, why are my flowers not looking good? You get the point. I'm being dramatic on purpose. There's a lot of time involved in flowers. Take all that time, add it all up. Did you actually make any money? Did you? If you're doing one flower job a day, probably not. And so the money you just lost on that flower job just sucks some profit out of your mowing, just sucks some profit out of your fertilization, weed control, because your flowers were underpriced. Now, maybe they're not underpriced to the market. Maybe you're charging, no, most companies aren't charging a price that necessarily actually equates to what the market charges, but let's say you do. Let's say for your flowers you actually charge a per flat installation price that matches your market, whatever that is, 25, 30, 35 bucks a flat, whatever that number is. But for you, for your business, where you're at today in business, that may not be a profitable market. I'll give you an example. If at my company I install $500,000 a year in flowers, and at your company you install $7,000 worth of flowers, I have economies of scale you don't possibly have. I can go out and I could do 6 weeks of nothing but flower installs with one crew, and that's all they do. They live and breathe flowers, and we have the flowers drop shipped to the properties, and we don't have half the cost you have. How could you possibly compete with me? My hourly rate could be 30 bucks in a flat, and you charge 30 bucks a flat. There's no money in it for you. I have a whole different business structure than you. You can't possibly look at how I charge and copy my pricing. It doesn't work for you. We're totally different businesses. So there's two things going on with pricing. One, you probably, and I should be careful how I say that, you might be underpricing a service in your business based on the market, because you've looked around and you've copied a few people's pricing, you've underpriced. Or you might be pricing the way the market prices, but based on the way your company's structured right now, you're underpricing for your particular business. Now, if you're a business that's growing a segment of your business, such as you are convinced flowers have money in them and you want to grow that segment of your business, clearly when you're small, there's not as much money in it. So you may look at it and you say, you know what, we're dedicated to building our flower installation business. We're going to lose some money for a while, but we know there's potential and we're going to grow this into something significant. So you've made a very strategic decision to grow the flower business. And then that's different. That's fine, because you know you have no economies of scale right now, and you know there's things you need to learn, you know there's systems you need to put in place to optimize that business, but in time, you know there's money in it, so it's a strategy. But if you're putting flowers in the ground with no strategy, and you're trying to compete with somebody like me or another company in your marketplace that puts in a lot of flowers, you probably can't do it. And I'm using flowers as an example. This could be true of aeration, this could be true of all kinds of other services, and that's why oftentimes I say focus is the key. And I've learned it personally the hard way. I'm not the kind of personality that likes to focus. I like to do everything. Focus is something I've had to work on, but I've learned as I've focused, I've become more successful and more profitable. And so if I were coming into your business we would look at your pricing. We would look at what you're doing, what your focus is. We would look at your marketing efforts. We would look at the people you have in your business. These are the first factors we'd start with. And of course, we'd look at your systems. You can have the greatest marketing, the greatest people, the greatest pricing, and if you have nothing to organize, optimize, and manage it, you can just forget it all, because none of it will last. And the day you quit doing it is the day it all falls apart. And if you're having to manage it all without a system, and I mean technology system or otherwise other systems, and you're the guy managing it, then your life is pure misery, and you couldn't possibly be taking vacations. Your company's not sellable. Your company's not worth its maximum value. You have to have systems to run the marketing, the people, even at the right pricing, to ensure that things run smoothly when you're not around. So, in summary, if you want to fix your business, you look at your marketing. Are you bringing in enough leads to have the confidence to be able to price correctly, to be able to turn away the work that's not right, to be able to focus on the things that you're an expert at? Do you have enough leads coming in that you can have confidence to make the right decisions for your business, such as bringing in the right people? Then, do you have the right people? Do you have the right people in the right positions? And at the same time, you're looking at your pricing. Are there specific services you're underpricing? And if you are underpricing them, or you're underpricing your services at a particular client's property, you need to adjust that pricing, or you need to adjust your overall pricing, or you need to exit a service category such as flowers or such as mulch until you have enough scale or enough people in your business to add that service back into your service mix. These are the things to focus on initially. And so that's where we would start if we were fixing your business. So again, no specific step-by-step answers as to how to fix your business or how to take your business to the next level or how to grow your business, but these are the areas you want to be looking at in your business if you want to do any of those things. If you don't get the things I'm talking about right, you have no chance of growing to $1 million, to $5 million, to $10 million, or you have no chance of turning around a underperforming $250,000 business into a profitable $500,000 business. Thank you.